Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whoever you are, wherever you are, whenever it is for you. For me, it is just past midnight on Wednesday, the 26th of March, 2025. That makes this the news for Tuesday, March 25th, day 1126 of Vladimir Putin's war of aggression against the people of Ukraine. How do you do? I'm Peter Alexievich, and this is the Live at 5 from Kyiv, coming to you live from this major European capital currently under siege. How's everybody doing tonight? I see the peeps are coming in. There's Hobo. Hey, Nightshade. Hey, Monica. How's everybody? Hey, Bjorn. Hey, Parda. How's everybody doing? Good evening, good evening, good evening. Come on in. Hey, Bernard. How you doing? It was nice seeing you in that live this afternoon. Hey, Mike Stinger. Hey, Renee Herman. Hey, Brian Kornbaugh. Nice to see you. Hey, Mel. G2. How you doing? So much negativity. There is a lot of negativity out there, Monica. Yes, there is. Hey, Bobby. Well, you know, it's hard when we have a vice president and a secretary of defense that refer to our most critical allies as a bunch of freeloaders who think that because only 3% of U.S. trade goes through the Suez Canal, that we should not deal with the Houthis. I mean, I don't know what world these people are living in. Revolt there says that Trump is a fraud. Yeah, he's a fraud. He's a cheap snake oil salesman, 300 pounds of dog shit in a cheap suit. No two ways about it. Evening, Chef Deb. Oh, mind play. That is wild, isn't it? In any other administration in history, heads would be rolling already. And that is really the number one story tonight, right? I mean, it is insane that you are planning military attacks against a rebel force of jihadis in Yemen on the same social media app that I have on my phone. Oh, I don't know about that, Patty. It's a little bit early to say that. Privet Sammy. Hey, Michael. Evening Integral. So did you watch the hearing today? That was what Tulsi Gabbard was in that, right? Who else was supposed to be in that? On Signal of all things. On Signal of all things. He is always wanting revenge against Americans and Europe and Canada. Yep. They got grilled, but what good does it do? What good does it do when the guy in charge says, oh, it was just a glitch, and claims he knew nothing about it? I mean, the level of criminal incompetence and the fact that Donald Trump must surround himself with those loyal to him, but are criminally incompetent, is insanity of the first order. Hey, Darryl Roberts. Hey, Roy Daniels. Hey, Laddie. It's insanity. Being under oath doesn't matter to these bastards. They are liars through and through. They are snake oil salesmen and cheap con men who expect that they will never face any real consequences for their actions. And so far, they're fucking right. Hey, Jeff. Hey, Nan. Hey, Thomas Cochran. Hey, Alan Wolf. They're not very clever, but they keep getting away with it, right? Because they are protected by the presidency. Underneath the shield of a president immune to all prosecution, even when he's committing crimes, thanks to the Supreme Court that he packed with a bunch of boot-licking sycophants and partisan hacks. Remember Amy Coney Barrett's Senate hearings? She couldn't even define the conditions of the First Amendment. The U.S. is a laughingstock. Absolutely it is. It is absolutely. Here we had the leader of the free world. And guys, I want to point out to you, let's not forget that the U.S. has been, in the post-World War II world, the greatest generator of wealth, the greatest wealth engine that the world has ever seen. With it gone, that wealth doesn't get created, and the benefits of it do not flow to the world. That means that everyone is going to be more poor. Everyone is going to have less. The pressure is going to ramp up on everyone. How long can they get away with this before they have to pay the price? That is the question I ask myself every day, Bernard. That's it, G2. His whole plan is to concentrate wealth in the hands of a few. Biden might have been a buffoon, but what he wasn't was a criminal. He was not a felon. Well, let's not get nostalgic, right? The Eisenhowers, well, Eisenhower was a great man. You're right about that. So was Roosevelt. But more importantly, they had their priorities straight. They were genuinely concerned about building systems that benefited the majority of Americans. These people, they have no interest in that. Their goal is to bankrupt the United States so that the oligarchs can emerge victorious. The people with the billions will buy up everything at pennies on the dollar, making all of us a permanent underclass dedicated to serving their needs, that people that they can buy and sell. Yeah, Little Red, that was Biden's great failure. How he didn't get this son of a bitch in jail in 4 fucking years is beyond me. I mean, either the Democrats are completely incompetent too, or they're complicit. They're part of this. One or the other. Well, Thomas, nobody loves the United States like I do. I'll tell you right now. But under the Trump administration, it's a fucking nightmare. I get it. Shooby-dooby-doo. I live stream 5 nights a week. I post at least 4 videos every fucking day. Every single day on Blue Sky, Twitter, Instagram, and Threads. I post the daily losses of the Russian Federation and the daily drone strikes against Ukraine. I haven't gone anywhere. Now, we know that there has been some algorithmic manipulation by Russian bots to suppress pro-Ukrainian voices. That's a real thing, right? That's not some paranoid delusion. That's a real fucking thing. As a matter of fact, I just saw somebody claiming to be a former Twitter employee talked about how during the election, Trump manipulated the algorithms in favor, or I'm sorry, Musk manipulated the algorithms in favor of Trump. I'm with you, Mind Play. The worst thing that you can do is betray your allies when they least expect it. I would argue the worst thing you can do is betray your own people. You know, if you had a compelling reason to save your own people by betraying your allies, I could kind of understand it. But hey, Mike. Yeah, Merrick Garland was a huge disappointment. Trump's the best president mate. Hey, Buller, just a heads up. If you're trying to be an American or trying to pretend online that you're an American, don't use the word mate. That's a strictly British thing. But we all know that you're a Russian, so it doesn't matter. I mean, we know what you are. Well, Steve-O, the rats already appear to be eating themselves. You know, if the so-called leaked video, or I'm sorry, leaked audio that's come out of the White House is any indication, the rats are already eating themselves inside of this administration. You want to take bets on whether Rubio leaves the cabinet position first, or Musk gets thrown under the bus, or Hegseth gets thrown out? Hey, Georgie boy, how you doing? Hey, Fitz, how you doing, mate? Whiskey leaks. Whiskey leaks. That's good. That's really good. I don't know if you made that up or if you stole that from somebody, but it's fucking good. Well, you know, as far as the swing states go, the reality is that when the swing states go one way, they do tend to go that way, right? As a collective. That's not uncommon. Look, I'm not a Republican conspiracy theorist. I don't want to relitigate the 2024 election, and I don't have any evidence to indicate that there was any scaled fraud. That's good, Roy. I saw that too. I've seen that before. DUI. Hegseth isn't a DEI hire; he's a DUI hire. Exactly. Hey, Monzi. Trump is loyal to Musk because he just gave him $350 million. I mean, it's ridiculous, right? Trump buys a Tesla, which you know he's not going to pay for. And then Musk gives him $100 million. What? So, I mean, it's a really extraordinary example of corruption in front of the camera. You know, I don't understand. What I don't understand is how the Trump people listened to Trump and cheered him on all through the campaign about how shitty electric cars were, about how they had, you know, you can only go 45 minutes, then you have to stop for 45 minutes and plug them in. You know, I mean, he went on and on and on about how bad EVs were. And then on the White House lawn, he gets in a Tesla and does a free commercial for Elon Trump, whose stock, by the way, yesterday lost 15%. I didn't see today. Did it recover at all? Can somebody look up Tesla stock and let me know whether or not it was up today? The markets are closed, right? The market's just closed. I am in Kyiv, survivor. How much did it recover? Because it lost 15% yesterday. Lukashenko said today at his self-installment for his 7th term as president of Belarus, a position that only he has occupied since the fall of the Soviet Union and the creation of the position. At his self-appointment, he said the words, "Half the world dreams of our dictatorship." You know, oh yeah, Uncle Luca, we all wish that we could be a boot-licking, ass-kissing slave of the Kremlin. no one aspires to more than the subjugation and humiliation that comes from that. Elon owns only 12% of Tesla. This isn't hurting him. I mean, if you really believe that, you're an idiot. Like, you don't understand how money works. That's insane to say. Let's remember that it's Tesla stock that the guy put up as collateral for the loans for Twitter. If Tesla stock falls to $100 a share, the bank is going to come calling, and they're going to force Musk to liquidate that 12% and pay them. He could lose Twitter over this. The stock is down about 50%. Well, no, not quite 50%. What is it? About 2/5. It's down about 2/5, about 40%. Well, Steve-O, the future is very uncertain, right? I had said at one point, and I'm still pretty committed to this, I do not intend to leave Ukraine until the Russians do. I have no intention of leaving Ukraine until the Russians do. That's my commitment to Ukraine. Now, I didn't think the war would still be going on now when I said that, I have to admit. So, it is my dream, Steve-O. Eli, are you kidding me? You did a mama thing? You're the best. Thanks. So I did think the war would be over by now, I have to confess. And that is because I'm a terribly optimistic person. And being an optimist, you do tend to be wrong more than you're right. But it's a lot more fun than being a pessimist. I'll tell you that right now. I have a great deal more fun than any pessimist does. Victor, help you how? Hey, Arn. Well, hardly, but thank you. So, hey, everybody, a couple of things, just why we're getting started here and we're ramping up into the news. I want to thank Leo Ring, who is the sponsor of tonight's live. Thank you, Leo. I really appreciate you. And I also want to mention that for tomorrow's live, the expectation that I have is that Dr. K will be here. And I have a couple of questions for Dr. K. And then we'll open the floor to questions from you guys. And if you don't know Dr. K, she's a political scientist who studies how information is shared, particularly disinformation, right? And she's a brilliantly insightful woman who was recently at the Munich Security Conference. So that tells you the kind of powerhouse she is. And I'm very excited to have her here, and I'm really looking forward to our conversation. Thanks for your support, Parrish. I hope by that you mean you're joining the Patreon. Jay, there used to be a buddy of mine. Thanks, Oscar's dad. Kay is awesome, right, Sammy? She's a very insightful woman. Jay, a buddy of mine years ago, 20 years ago, had a recording of my laugh that was available as a downloadable ringtone. And nobody's done one recently, but if somebody wants to use it for a fundraiser, I'm happy to give my permission to make a recording or something. Hey, Nicola. So I would argue, so the two big stories today, of course, is that the Trump administration has shown itself to be completely corrupt and incompetent. The, the failure to abide by the National Security Archives records laws, right? Because every one of those text messages is an official government record. And they were set to self-destruct after 1 or 4 weeks, as I understand it, which is a violation of the law. Now, and the idea that a journalist, hey, Bucharest, the idea that a journalist was just inadvertently put on this text chain using an unapproved app, which, look, Signal is encrypted end to end, right? But the reality is that it's only as secure as the device that it's on. Witkoff was in the fucking Kremlin. Are you kidding me? At the time. Bill B isn't a real person. That's the same person that was just in here before, under a different name, who I threw out. Hey, Pedro the Amigo. They'll probably switch to Snapchat next. Oh boy, that put pictures in my head I did not need, Fitz. I mean, count on you to get me to throw up in my mouth a little bit, only 23 minutes into the live. Hey, Beneficum. I love your name, by the way. Did I ever tell you that? So April 5th, there's 2 big things going on at exactly the same time. At 12 o'clock noon in the United States on the East Coast, there's protests supposed to happen that I hope all of you will be at. However, if you are unable to attend those protests, we'll be doing the next Laughter is the Best Medicine live here in Kyiv. And so if you're in Kyiv, come on down to Gonzo Bar, Lukianivska, and we'll be there. The doors open at 6:30. The show is at 7 on Saturday, April 5th. If you are in the United States, the show will be streamed live here on the Tickety Talk at noon New York time, 9 West Coast time. That's 5 p.m. London time. Hey, Alfarkri. So April 5th is a big day in the United States for protests, which of course I encourage you all to attend. But if you are unable to attend, or if there is not a protest near you, then join us for a laugh. After all, in these dark times, laughter is the best medicine. I was at the open mic today at Underground Stand Up here in Kyiv, and it was really off the hook. Everybody was phenomenal. It was a powerhouse evening. I saw people give some of the best performances of their career tonight. All right. Now, the other big story today, of course, is what's coming out of Jeddah. And look, I'll tell you, it's not just that I am a cynical person, because generally I am not a cynical person. But when it comes to this ceasefire, it's not rooted in any kind of reality, even though the Ukrainians have accepted the terms. I mean, God bless the Ukrainians. They have the patience of saints. We know that Russia's going to... Now, think about this with me. This is supposed to be a ceasefire in the Black Sea, right? And yesterday, what did the Russians do? They launched 3 nuclear-powered submarines, each one armed with 4 caliber cruise missiles, a full complement of cruise missiles. I mean, on the eve of you agreeing to the Black Sea ceasefire, you launch 4 warships with full complements of missiles. How does that say that you are a serious person? It says just the opposite. You intend to break this ceasefire at the first moment you can. After Ukraine had agreed to the ceasefire, the Russians came back and said, No, not without. Well, no, actually, they didn't say that. We're getting two messages out of the Kremlin. One is, yes, we agree to the ceasefire as long as U.S. sanctions against Russian agricultural products like fertilizer are lifted. The Ukrainians already have underwater drones. Who said that? Tickle me. Tickle me. The Ukrainians have an underwater loitering munition. It is basically an unmanned subsurface torpedo that can loiter, right? It can wait for targets to appear. It can do reconnaissance. And they're big. I mean, they're big. They're like maybe 3.5 meters long, like 12 feet long, something like that. And they pack a punch. They pack a punch. Now, how long they can be out at sea, I don't know. I don't think anybody does, right? That's classified. But we have seen them. One of them failed and washed up on a Crimean beach, and the Russians published photographs of it. Now, whether or not they're powerful enough to take out a Kilo class or an improved Kilo class submarine, which is what the 3 submarines are that are currently in the Black Sea, I don't know. Moroshinska. Love my Moroshinska. Ukraine should not take the Black Sea. Do you... I'm not sure I understand that comment, Bobby. What do you mean by that? Uncle Christopher, they are flying. The Ukrainians are flying drones into Russian communications equipment every day. Scott, the Russians just launched 3 submarines into the Black Sea, all with full complements of cruise missiles. Hey, Dan Ballard. How you doing, pal? Yep, on the subs. Now, look, each sub can only carry 4 cruise missiles. So there's only a dozen missiles at sea right now. But the irony of this is that they launched them on the eve of talks in Jeddah for a ceasefire on the Black Sea, since the whole energy and infrastructure ceasefire has failed. Evening, Chris. So to be clear, guys, there is no ceasefire here. Ukraine accepted an unconditional 30-day ceasefire, which Russia rejected. Then Russia floated the idea of an energy infrastructure ceasefire. And as I understand it, as of tonight, we have the parties agreed to a ceasefire on the Black Sea, except then Russia said, yes, we agree as long as the U.S. lifts sanctions against our agricultural products, including fertilizer. So it doesn't look to me like there's any ceasefire. I think it's a load of shit. Hey, Chris, I don't think the Russians have any intention of abiding by any ceasefire. It is my considered opinion that Putin thinks he's winning. And with Trump in the office, he really thinks he's winning. And he thinks that that between him and Trump, they can divide Europe and rule the world together. So Europe's going to have to get its shit together. They're going to have to suspend Hungary's voting rights as part of the EU. He is winning, says someone named Baloo with 12 followers. No, 19 followers, sorry. You and your 19 followers, I'm sure that you really know what's going on. Pinky in the brain. What are we doing tonight? what we always do, planning to take over the world. Trump is bad for everyone. You are not kidding, Captain Howdy. That is really, you are a master of understatement, pal. Trump is bad for everybody. Trump is like cancer, only with most cancers now we have some kind of cure. I don't know what the cure for Trump is. So the ceasefire talks in Jeddah, as far as I'm concerned, have yielded no results. I mean, there's a lot of talk about this and that, yada, yada. But I don't see any real talk. All right, now, Oscar's dad, let's not get ourselves banned here. Let's not get my live banned. And frankly, in a democracy, we should be able to have a smooth transition of power without violence, right? Political violence has no place in our democracy. The problem is, how long is the other side going to follow that rule? No, I do not believe the Republicans will ever stand up to Trump. No, they have gotten rid of every Republican that would have. Adam Kinzinger is out. Liz Cheney is out. Well, Mitch McConnell's too old, right? He's just done. But no, I don't see any Republicans with backbone standing up to him. I do not. On the front lines, I would argue that the big news, of course, is the second incursion into Russia. Yeah, Judy, we spent the first 20 minutes of the show talking about it. On the front line, the big news is the Belgorod incursion. So now you've got the Ukrainians holding territory in both Kursk and Belgorod. Do not believe for a second that the Ukrainians are out of Kursk. They aren't. The size of the salient is greatly reduced. This is true. The Russians launched a very costly but massive attack that cut the Ukrainian supply lines. They had to retreat, right? I'm not making any bones about that. That was a forced withdrawal under fire. And they did it to save the lives of Ukrainians, right? Lives over land, every time with the Ukrainians. But they didn't leave Kursk. They pulled back to more fortified positions and are holding those positions. Then a whole bunch of guys go down to Belgorod and incur there, capturing 2 settlements. They're now holding about 50 square kilometers of Belgorod as well. They've got the village of Popov and the village of Demidovka. They've also, now if you look, now see, this is where Syrskyi is a genius. The commander-in-chief of the Ukrainian Armed Forces, Colonel General Syrskyi, is an absolute genius when it comes to using terrain as natural fortifications in war. And if you look on a map at where they've gone into Belgorod, there's all these swampy areas and streams and bridges. And what the Ukrainians have done, because, the Russians can't cross a river, right? The Russians have real trouble crossing rivers. And so the Ukrainians have gone in, blown a bunch of the bridges to prevent reinforcements from getting to the areas where they are. And at the same time, they're sending drones up to mine the roads that come into the area so that as the reinforcements attempt to approach or engineering vehicles attempt to approach, they're hitting those mines. That's what's happening. And that's giving the Ukrainians a pointed advantage, or it appears to be at any time. At any rate, it does not appear that the Ukrainians are going in with sufficient numbers to backdoor around to Sudza. They're on the right path for that. It's only 17 miles away, right about 25 kilometers. But it doesn't look like they have the bulk of men and equipment to make that run. But it's very hard to say. We don't really know. The fog of war is very thick at the Russian border right there, right now. And Kyiv is saying hardly anything about it. Right now, they understand operational security. My favorite line from all of the disclosed signal text was Pete Hegseth saying, we are clean on OPSEC. And the journalist is reading this even as he writes it. Right, Mike Kelly? No leaks? Are you kidding me? It's a joke. Oh, yeah, Chris. Kyiv is very quiet on this. They're not giving anything away. Now, look, the whole thing could be a diversion, right? We could wake up tomorrow and find out that 120 boats crossed the Dnipro and landed in Kherson, or landed in Crimea, or whatever, right? Like, I'm just saying, someplace unexpected. Clean on OPSEC equals no OPSEC. In the case of the DUI hire, Pete Hegseth, it certainly does, Arn. Oh, look, everybody, the joke is on us. The whole thing was an AI hoax. It's all just a big hoax. Now, where have we heard that coming? Where have we heard that before? That was the inciting incident that brought me to Ukraine, right? Some maggot in Erie, Pennsylvania telling me that there was no war in Ukraine. Ridiculous. Yeah, most of the info, all the info, well, the only thing really that I have heard from Kyiv is Zelensky confirmed that there was an operation ongoing in Belgorod. And very slyly, he said, sometimes what looks like a retreat may not be a retreat. Something to that effect. That's almost a direct quote from the translator. Dear Whistler, you're funny. You know, you make a good point, pal. The two are related. They absolutely are. This belief in conspiracy theories and a belief in Russian disinformation, they are closely, deeply related. NBC says Russia and Ukraine agree to Black Sea fire. Well, technically, Bobby, yes, right? Except the Russians now are putting extra conditions on it. They're saying that the U.S. has to lift sanctions on Russian agricultural products, including Russian fertilizer. Russia's one of the, imagine your surprise, Russia's one of the world's leading producers of fertilizer. There's an irony to that, boy. Oblivion, it is definitely a war of misinformation and Russian lies. You are not wrong. Hey, Big D. Joy, as I understand it, the Russian disinformation budget is 1.9 billion US a year. 1.9 billion US a year. I don't know what a flurf is. Hey, Paul Brown, how you doing, buddy? All related. Oh, Flurfer is a flat earther. Oh, okay. You know, it was just the equinox. I mean, I don't really care how these flat earthers explain the seasons. right? It's some bullshit, I'm sure, but I mean, how do they explain the seasons? I mean, how is it that the seasons are reversed in the north and southern hemispheres, but we live on a flat surface? That doesn't make any sense. Exactly, Joy. 20% of the population doesn't have an indoor toilet. No roads, no roofs, no heat. But at 1.9 billion on disinformation. That's the Russian world. Now, I would point out that not only are the Ukrainians still in Kursk, but we got word today that the Ukrainian armed forces had hit a group of Russian forces, a force concentration, and took out about 30 soldiers in one hit. Additionally, we saw the Ukrainians call in the Ukrainian Special Operations Forces in Belgorod, get way behind the lines and call in a HIMARS strike on 4 Russian helicopters yesterday. 2 Ka-52 Alligators and 2 Mi-8 troop carriers. Huge, right? Like $80 million worth of helicopters. And also, it put the Ukrainians up to 335 Russian helicopters destroyed in this war in 3 years and 1 month. That's 2 more helicopters than the Afghanis took out in 9 years. Hey, Dave. How you doing, pal? Is the wife around? Is she coming in? You got an interview, Paul. What are you interviewing? You got a job? Job interview lined up? But no, that is why the Russians were stealing toilets and washing machines at the beginning of the war. 1 in 5 Russians don't have an indoor toilet. It's that simple. That same 20% of Russia is still washing clothes by boiling a pot on the stove. They don't have washing machines either. I mean, people were saying bullshit about they were stealing chips. And I'm sure that in some cases that was not untrue. But if you're stealing chips, you don't take the whole fucking washing machine. Right? You just take the board out of the back. So not only are the Ukrainians still in Kursk, they are now in Belgorod as well. They're hitting Russian forces there. They're taking out Russian infrastructure. And we got word that one of the units participating in the Belgorod incursion is the Russian Freedom Legion, right? That's a group of Russian citizens who are actually in open revolution against the Kremlin. They believe the Kremlin is bad for Russia. They believe that Putin and his oligarchs are bad for Russian people, and they are trying to take them out. Hey, Samso. We talked about Lukashenko installing himself again. This really bothered me. In the big the big drone attack here in Kyiv on Saturday, we saw a 5-year-old little girl named Nicole unalived, along with her dad. This morning, we got word that her mother had succumbed to her injuries. The entire family is now dead at the hands of the Russians, burned alive in their beds at night. That's the reality. Oh, we can't hit energy infrastructure or port infrastructure? We'll target Ukrainian families in their beds. It is a crime. It is literally a crime. It's a war crime. It is disgusting, Mike. It is sick. I mean, but sick doesn't begin to describe these people. If you want to understand how sick they are, yesterday the UN published a paper around the systemic SA being used against Ukrainian civilians, weaponized SA being used against Ukrainian civilians in the temporarily occupied territories. It is sickening. You can't even, normal people can't even imagine coming up with these things. Who thinks to do these evil things to another human being? It's a real eye-opener, the UN report. For those of you who have the stomach for it, who want to understand the evil that the Ukrainians are facing down every day, and who, despite the Russians having every advantage, have continued to hold them off. Hey, Joy, you're in Kyiv? Well, listen, on Wednesdays, I have an English-speaking group. We meet at Gonzo Bar Lukyanivska at 1900. Come on down. Practice your English in a group of great people. We have a bunch of English teachers there, a bunch of English students. It's a nice group. No, I get it, Mike Gordon. I totally get it, man. I totally get it. Hey, Clay Fry. So, Clay, my two laugh lines today are whiskey leaks, which I think is hysterical. And then there was another good one that came. Oh, DUI hire. Pete Haig said there's a DUI hire. It's not a DEI hire. I thought that was pretty fucking funny. Hey, Jay. Jay was in Kyiv recently and took me out to lunch. We had a very pleasant afternoon. It was great to finally sit down face to face and enjoy a little steak. That was a very nice lunch, Jay. Thank you. Oh, Michael, that's a great interview, right? One of the authors, right? Michael Boucher mentions, guys, on yesterday's installment, so the 24th of March installment of Ukraine, the Latest, the podcast from the London Telegraph, there's an interview with one of the authors of that paper. Now, in point of fact, Michael, I haven't listened to that interview yet. It's in my queue of things to listen to. But I would imagine it is, the people who run that show are the best. They are what I aspire to be. David Knowles was definitely one of the people that inspired me to come to Ukraine and do this stuff. He was a brilliant humanitarian who managed to showcase both the horror and the humanity that permeates every waking interaction here in Ukraine. So, Michael Boucher, I couldn't agree more. Ukraine, the Latest, the podcast, is, they do a hell of a job over there. Michael says his stomach couldn't take the whole interview. I wonder if that's why I haven't listened to it yet, Michael. It's got to be hard. Right, Arn? I mean, Dominic Nichols and Francis Turnley, the snarky way they talk to each other is magnificently human and very, very British. You can get it on any podcast channel. Ukraine the Latest is the absolute gold standard for understanding the war. And so much of my understanding of the war comes from those guys. There's no two ways about it. So on any of your podcast apps, just search for Ukraine the Latest. Or you can subscribe to the London Telegraph. Michael gets it on iHeartRadio. There's a play about Trump as a Russian ace? No. I'm very curious about that. Very, very curious about that. I'd like to know. Hey, Mr. Arendal, did you see the video I made for you today? Or in response to your comment? It was a good comment. And I appreciated the opportunity to address it. What's Joy need? Hey, Julian. The interview that we mentioned earlier it's a podcast called Ukraine the Latest. She wants to text me about the English club. Yeah, sure. Message me on here, Joy. That's probably the easiest. Somebody said that my email address is no longer in my bio. How can that be? I don't even understand that. I have to check that. I apologize. I meant to, and I haven't gotten to it. Paul Brown saying he sent me a video. Paul, listen. Guys, and this is not just for you, Paul, I assure you. Guys, over the weekend, people sent me over 500 videos. I don't have time. So right off the bat, I got to tell you, no AI bullshit. Not interested. No jokes. Not interested. Evil perversions of Donald Trump and Kim Jong-un, do not give a fuck. Do not clog my inbox with that garbage, please. Breaking news related to Ukraine. That's it. I'm having to mute people. You know, now that the channel is over 30,000 followers. I mean, literally, I got over 500 videos this weekend. 12 from one person. Come on, give me a fucking break. Get other friends. No problem, Paul. You know, I have genuinely enjoyed the interactions with the people that I have met on this app. You know who you are. Paul, you're one of them. Arn certainly is one of them. Eli is one of them. Lars is one of them. Nightshade is one of them. I mean, the list goes on. Dan Ballard is here. Bobby is here. The list goes on and on and on. You guys are great. Parda is a great guy, right? And I have genuinely enjoyed Robbo, you too. And I have genuinely enjoyed it. But the channel is growing. And so the kind of level of interaction that I used to be able to afford, it just is not possible anymore. I'm sorry to say. And so the first thing that we have to do is we have to agree. Leo, that's not it. Hey, everybody, there's the sponsor of tonight's live. Everybody thank Leo Ring. So that's not what I'm saying, pal. I'm just saying, yes, send me video. When it's breaking news, when it's about Ukraine, when it's something that helps me inform everybody else, help me stay apprised. Polino, I don't know if any of you guys know Polino or follow Polino, who's out of What country is Budapest in? Is that Hungary? I want to say it's Hungary. Is Budapest Hungary? Or is Budapest is Hungary? And where's Bucharest? Romania? Bucharest is Romania, right? Boy, I can't remember now if he's in Hungary or Romania. But anyway, Polino is the best. Polino, he is on top of the news, man. And the only things he ever sends me are breaking news that's really pertinent to Ukraine. So real good guy. He might be in Slovakia, actually. Guys, there's so many of you now. It's very hard to keep up. You know, it's not that I don't want to. It's just that Polino sounds Romanian, could be Samso. You know, it's not that I don't want to. It's just that I'm at the limits of my cognitive abilities. You know? No, please, Arn. I'm not looking for sympathy, buddy. My life is pretty good. Despite living under martial law, despite living in a war zone, despite the constant bombings, despite the curfew, you know, I have a purpose-driven life. And I'm very grateful to all of you for helping me live it. I really am. Too much time. Oh, boy, I'll tell you, Michael, I would love to spend a weekend fossil hunting. It's been a long time. It's been a long time. That Jurassic coast of England sounds pretty appealing. It really does. There's got to be some good fossil hunting down on Crimea, too. I don't know, but I would think so. Why would you ruin a whiskey and tea? Weymouth, that's it, Nightshade, yeah. So my mother's maiden name literally translates from the Irish as bushy-eyebrowed. That's not even a joke. That's a true fact about my life. Well, I'm not sure that I'm going to be able to go on vacation. I don't see it happening right anytime soon. I just got whacked I found out it's going to cost me $600 US dollars, not hryvnia, to get my 1 year temporary residency card. So that is a problem. That is a problem. Jeff, you live close to a town called Fossil. That's in Oregon? It's due the 7th of May. It's due the 7th of May. So I'm trying to figure out, Arn, if I can do it without the lawyer or not. So Thursday, some friends of mine are going to be here at the house. The Laughter is the Best Medicine crew has a rehearsal. And I'm going to talk to my friends and see if they can kind of help guide me through the process. And do we really need the lawyer? But I think there's one thing that we can't avoid not getting the lawyer for. So it might just be easier to do everything with the lawyer. I don't know. I don't know, pal. But I'm going to look at the process and see if I can do it myself. The big thing... Oh, yeah, Lars. But let me tell you something. As an English-speaking American, you do not want to try to deal with the bureaucracy in Kyiv on your own. You really don't. I mean, these people were all born in the Soviet Union. They were trained in the Soviet Union. They are not, I swear to God, they are not, I mean, you think American or Western civil servants are bad? These guys are unbelievable. They're right out of a Tolstoy novel. Thanks, Sarn. Thank you very much. That's a good question, Dave. Is anybody in the chat? Does anybody in the chat know, like Joy, do you know any immigration attorneys in Kyiv that maybe would help me out, maybe do it pro bono? I mean, there's still, even if the lawyer is pro bono, 400 of it are expenses. There's the application fee, the insurance rider, and the alien registration fee. So anyway, it doesn't matter. Look, it's 2 minutes after the top of the hour. So I'm tired. I want to go to bed. I got a long day tomorrow. You got to do it every year, Joe. Yes. Much better than my first year here. The first year I was here, I only came for 3 months. Then I decided I would stay another 3 months. And then I decided I would stay another 3 months, and then another 3 months. And every 3 months you had to leave the country to go get your 3-month visa. That was a pain in the ass. So anyway, all aliens must be registered, yes. So, I have Yoda staying with me. He's got to be registered. I have a couple of Ewoks here. You married your Ukrainian girlfriend. Nice. Judy, you're American, right? ET phone home. If you're you're an American. 3 months? Wait, 3 months. As an American, you can visit Kyiv visa or Ukraine visa free for 3 months. Yes, you can. Then after that, you need a visa to stay any longer. Okay, kids. I'm going to call it a night. Thanks, everybody, very much. Again, remember, tomorrow night, I expect, barring anything going wrong, that's not how it works, Aaron, right? I'm going to cross my T's and dot my I's. The Ukrainians do not owe me anything. But tomorrow night, Dr. K, I'm hoping, will be here if everything goes well. And I'll have some questions for her, and then we will open the floor to questions from all of you. And she's a remarkably insightful person. I look forward to having a very positive conversation with her, an insightful conversation. So please join us for that. Thanks, everybody. Enjoy. Shoot me a message about the English-speaking club or anybody who's in Kyiv who wants to practice their English. Yesterday, you might be aware, was International Depression Awareness Day. And so tomorrow's topic at English Speaking Club will be mental health. How do we take care of ourselves? How do we deal with stress living in a war zone? What are the things we can do for ourselves? So if you're in Kyiv and want to practice your English, please come by Gonzo Bar Lukianivska tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Thanks, everybody. Make it a great day. It is time, Darn. We want to make sure that everybody gets at least 5 minutes to speak. So what we do is when the group comes in, we announce the topic, I make a few comments, then we immediately break up into small groups of 3 to 5 people each, depending on how many Americans we have. I like to have one native speaker with each group, so that the other Ukrainian and Russian speakers or other language speakers too, can encourage each other in the translation. and the American or the other native English speaker can assist with the English side of things. And we find that that's got a good pacing to it, if you will. Or it gets good results. People like it. And people feel like they have an opportunity to contribute. Nobody ever monopolizes the floor. Yeah. Anyway. Okay. Good night, everybody. Make it a great day.